we're here on behalf of the group Our Misunderstood
Yes.
to present a petition
Yes.
that we had put together last week.
Yes.
The initial petition was put together to actually, in other words, save her, not just save Hersh's life, but also look at the legislation that's in place for the prohibited dogs.
Sure.
And then part of that, we decided also in conjunction with that, it wasn't just about that one dog.
Right.
It's about all the dogs
Sure.
that are on the prohibited list. In fact, a very wise person said to me, for every one person that comes forward, there were like 10 more in the same situation. So there quite possibly there are other individuals out there that fear
Yes.
the fate that I had to endure.
Mhm.
And so the petition itself talks about changes in the legislation,
Yes.
and it also puts forward a recommendation, an amnesty with looking at possible ways to introduce a pure breed from overseas. Now, there were two petitions. The first one, surprisingly to me, went worldwide. That has 2,269 signatures. Over 1,300 signatures were Bermudian, and the rest were from people from Australia, Uganda, Canada,
Yes.
United Kingdom, all over the world.
Yes.
Bermuda is one of 13 countries that banned the pit bull.
Right.
There were many more countries in the world that have things in place.
Sure.
Because those of us firmly believe that it's not just the dog. It isn't the dog, it's the owner. And in fact, we've put together a proposal,
Sure.
something that you can look at. Some of it is based on the 2011 amnesty that was put in place, and the reasons surrounding it.
Yes.
One of the reasons the amnesty came about was because it understood that there were a lot of pit bulls and a lot of other prohibited species, breeds, excuse me, and that destroying all of those dogs, it just didn't make sense because a lot of them were pets. And so we looked at the 2011 amnesty, and we also brought about some recommendations. And if you don't mind, may I share the recommendations with you?
Well,
It's just three.
Yeah,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
going to read them in total.
Oh, okay,
I'm
yeah,
not going to read
sure,
them in
go
total.
ahead. Yes.
One of them is that if there is anybody that wants to own one of these prohibited species now, currently, that have them, license the owners. And this way, you are assured that you have responsible owners. One of them is looking at the people that are breeding the dogs illegally and ensuring that there are some measures in there that the dogs aren't destroyed, but there are some measures in there that the breeds don't continue illegally. And then one of them is to also look at, quite possibly, when you decide to lift the ban on the prohibited species, find a reputable breeder overseas, allow a licensed breeder in Bermuda to breed a good breed so that and test the temperaments of the dogs, etc. So there are further recommendations in here.
Yes.
So I present to you
Okay.
the recommendations from, we are supporters of Our Misunderstood. These
Yes.
are recommendations from Our
Sure.
Misunderstood.
Sure.
This is the petition, and this one here is just the petition for looking at the legislation.
Yes.
We requested that only Bermudians sign this, so this is signed by over 1,300 Bermudians.
Okay.
And
you.
this was the original petition that went out, and this one here is the one that went worldwide.
Okay.
And this here had over 2,200 signatures on it.
Right.
It wasn't just for, and you see it's addressed to Sylvan
Yeah,
Richards,
that's fine.
because
That's-
you were there at the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
So this particular incident in that happened last week
Sure.
is not unique to Bermuda,
No, it's not.
and people have been fighting worldwide for the cause of pit
Sure.
bulls, and it's an unfortunate situation. It's something that I had wished would have never ever had happened, and I'm hoping that nobody else has to suffer the same fate, and that I stand by. It is the owner, and I recognize and I understand that the dog wardens, the Ministry of Environment and Protection, I recognize and I understand that they have a job to do.
Sure.
I also recognize that there are laws, and it certainly wasn't my intention to become a criminal. I never in my wildest dreams would I have ever expected to be considered a criminal because I earned a dog. say yes, I was ignorant of the law at that time, and when I learned what the law was, I did everything I could to make things right. But unfortunately, because of the type of breed that it was, I couldn't do it. And then how do you, after you've had something for 4 months, walk it down the street and ask somebody to kill it? I'm sorry, I just couldn't do it. There's no way I could have done that. And I speak on behalf of our misunderstood and any other person out there who has the love for an animal that they cannot license because of how the law currently stands.
Right.
I think somebody needs to be a voice for them.
Okay, and I appreciate that.
Right.
Can I make a few comments?
Yes, you may.
Okay, I'm here on behalf of the Honorable Trevor Munnis, who is now the minister responsible for the dog policy. I have to say that I have a little personal disappointment that I'm not able to finish what I started. And what you are not aware of, and the public is not aware of, is that for the last 7 months, I was working closely with my Canine Advisory Committee. This was a committee that existed under the previous government, and it went defunct. After I became minister, I re-empaneled the Canine Advisory Committee, and I populated with persons who I was advised were experts on dog handling, everything to do with dogs. So over the last 7 months or so, we were working on looking at the dog policy. I told them, look at the policy the way it is now. Advise me whether the policy makes sense. For example, do we have the correct breeds on the correct list? Prohibited, restricted, and unrestricted. Also, should we continue to have a prohibited list? So they were looking at everything to do with the dog policy. And in fact, they were going to make a recommendation to me this week, but I'm no longer the minister. Now, I have spoken to the current minister, the Honorable Trevor Munnis, and I've advised him and brought him up to speed on all the good work that has been done to date. And I'm encouraging him to continue with that. The chairman of the Canine Advisory Committee, a gentleman named Glenn Doors, we've been very close contact over the last few months, because I wanted to make sure that the policy going forward was fair and that it would treat everyone equitably. Now, in terms of your dog and the dogs preceding your dog that were put down, I have to say this. As the minister, I was elected to enforce the law. The law stated that an illegal bred dog, whether it's a pit bull or not, on the banned list, had to be euthanized. And I had consistently given my wardens the authority to do that. So they were enforcing the law. Now, that's why I said to my Canine Advisory Committee, let's reevaluate this. Let's look at it again. And I will share something with you. I have a very close family member who had an illegal pit bull puppy, same age as yours, a very cute pit bull puppy. I had that puppy put down. I was enforcing the law without fear or favor. That's my job and what I was elected to do. However, I'm reasonable enough, and I wanted to make sure that the policy going forward was the right policy. So with that being said, I accept this on behalf of Minister Munnis, and I would encourage your group to keep in contact with Minister Munnis, because I believe what my Canine Advisory Committee was going to propose to me was going to be a policy that everybody could live with. I don't take pleasure in putting down anyone's dog. My biggest fear, and I've said this on a few occasions, was that as the minister, I would get a call one morning that a pit bull or another dog on the banned list or even the restricted list had attacked, maimed, or killed a child. That's a call that I never wanted to take. And I made a decision that I knew I was going to take a lot of heat from enforcing the policy as it currently is. But I would much rather take that heat than take the heat from a family who have lost a child because a dog had killed their child. So that's my position. And if I had to do it again, I would do the same thing again. However, the Canine Advisory Committee, I believe, has come up with a very good policy going forward. And I think that if it is enforced and put into play, I think it will take care of a lot of the issues that we have right now. It was a very vexing issue. It was a very vexing issue for me as minister and prior ministers. And I don't want the current minister to have to go through the same drama and the emotion that I went through, these sleepless nights, knowing that I had to put down a dog that had done nothing but be an illegal breed. That's the law. I didn't make the law, I inherited it. So we're going to work together. You know, I'm going to continue to talk to the minister. And like I say, I would like for your group to stay mobilized, stay active, until we can come up with a policy that works for everybody.
Right, okay. And having said that, I invite you, the minister, Mr. Dunkley, as well.
I'm no longer the minister.
I said you and the minister.
Okay.
Mr. Dunkley and anyone else that's interested to please come to the Breed Awareness Forum. Yeah, it is a forum. It's an educational forum that's going to take place at Queens Park, formerly Parlerville, tomorrow at 12 o'clock, where we plan to do some educating of breeds. And a lot of this stuff I learned when I found out that my dog was an illegal dog. You know, so I just encourage anybody to come and look and see what they have today, because I think that education is more important than anything else, and then it removes the stigma.
Yeah, I agree. In closing, I'll say one last thing. You know, I have personal experience with this whole dog situation. A number of years ago, I have an uncle who had, it was a breed. It was basically on the restricted list. I won't name the breed, so I don't want to prejudice the breed. This dog was a socialized family dog, had been around children all its life, never had an issue. One day, my aunt was walking with her little grandson at the time, with the dog, and she picked him up, and the dog jumped up, pulled him out of her arms, peeled his scalp back. 40 stitches to the child's head. That dog had to be put down. So when I hear an argument that when people say it's the owner and not the dog, not in every case. In some cases, there are perfectly good people who have trained the dog has been socialized, but something happens and the dog reacts. It's a dog. It's not thinking like a person. So I'm challenged with that particular argument, because I have personal experience where a so-called well-adjusted, socialized dog has attacked a person or attacked another dog and killed it. So it's a touchy thing. There's no black and white in this. It's a lot of gray. But we have to work together to come up with a policy that is fair and equitable for all, yet still protects the public.
And again, I say just educate about the breeds. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'll take this to the minister.
Thank you.